sit. When I first got taught in the OK dinghy, it was sit as far forward as you can. I think that's probably still true in smooth water, in light air, but in any kind of chop, I'm sliding aft more and more than I used to. So I end up in choppy stuff basically sitting here, which is well aft of the max forward. And I think the boats, when it gets choppy, you want the bow to be a little bit light and moving, not planted. But in smooth water, I'm happy to plant the bow. But in choppy stuff, I'm happy. So I just move back a little bit.
How does that change with it?
Don't know. Don't know.
Different bow shape, like a dildo.
Don't. You guys are getting too complicated. Get it 90% right, you're going to be fine. A good tip is always have your shoulders outside your hips. That'll make it easier to move around, and if it gets light, you've got somewhere to go. You can't just go,
What do you mean by that, Ron?
So basically you're leaning back. And if it's 8 knots or something, you're actually sitting in here, not with your bum there, so that you can lean back and control the boat, not be, like curled up like you do when you get tired and you start curling up and curling up. So basically that's upwind, boom settings, brake, that's sitting and stuff. Upwind, for those of you who've sailed keelboats, then basically in a keelboat you lock the rudder in, you don't move the rudder. Because it's a lifting surface and you just, everything's gradual and everything else. In the OK dinghy, it's a lot more violent. You can use rudders anytime you want upwind. It doesn't seem to hurt. They're terrible boats for sculling, so don't even bother. But don't be afraid to use the rudder. Okay? And downwind, we'll talk about downwind in a second. But so flat, boom positions. Don't be afraid to use the rudder. Seating positions, and you're 90% there. Downwind. Downwind, we know the boom's going to be 90 degrees. Let's start off with light air. Traditionally what happens, particularly in smooth water, you'll heel the boat to weather, right? But you can overheel the boat to weather. And if the rail ever gets close to the water, you've overheeled the boat. What you really want to do is take the windward's, the leeward side, actually, downwind, but you want to take that flat side out of the water. So you only have this part in. This one's half of the boat in the water. If you leave the water, you'll be sitting up, running along with probably, I don't know how many degrees it is, but if you could ever see, if somebody can see your centerboard, you're overheeled. What that does, two things. One, it'll give you lee helm, and you'll be actually, in a static world, you'll be pushing to keep the boat going straight, because this whole thing is trying to turn the boat that way. So your rudder is what's going to stop that, and it's just a brake. We're just trying to eliminate drag. The other thing is, you want to get, particularly in light air, you want to get way forward, because when you heel the boat to windward, this corner right here will dig in the water. And you know how a powerboat when it's going slow, the water gurgles back until it starts going fast, and then it comes off clean. Well, in light air, it'll go gurgling back because that corner goes down, makes in. So it's almost more important, or as important, to be forward in the boat, all the way up. You know, I'm on my knees with my chest here. Then we're talking in 6 knots downwind, so that you don't get that gurgle back. That's almost more important than how much heel to windward. Okay, board up to your back end in the case, and it's just trying to cut down the friction on the boat. As it gets windier, and particularly as you start catching waves, heeled boats don't catch waves, flat boats catch waves. So it's not so important to heel to windward aggressively. It's more important to be flat so that when you can catch waves. The other thing is you'll want to put the board down because you don't want, when you turn up and catch a wave or veer off, you don't want the boat to go sideways. That's really slow. It's much quicker to have a little more drag of the board down than it is the boat slipping sideways every time you go. Okay? So less windward heel. You can slide back now because it's going fast enough that all the water's running off the back of the boat. That's not a problem. And a slightly flatter boat. Maybe a little heel to windward, but don't. It's not that big a deal. Bigger deal to have the boat flat and catch the waves. Then it starts getting really windy. Really windy. To me, I know these guys say really windy, that's probably 28 knots or so. To me, really windy is 18 knots. Jibing in 18 knots is not. Okay, this is going to be a little bit long. I can't fuck this up. Go swimming. So I say 18 knots. And now you're back in the boat. Come back to the middle of the boat. I put a block in the front so the mast doesn't go forward anymore. Board, again, in what I would call reaching position. That's as much to right the boat when I tip the boat because it's hard to right the darn thing. As it gets windier, you're going to go off of that 90-degree mark. You're going to start pulling the main in. And you can ease a little bit of bang, which will allow the top to go up. Sorry. Let's talk about bang for 2 seconds. One thing. And John taught me this. And waves and stuff. Anybody can surf a boat down a wave. The art is taking the waves back up towards the mark. That's where the art of sailing downwind in waves is. Not the ones that you take down and by the lee, because by the lee doesn't matter. Once you all jive, you're the most windward boat again. So that didn't buy you anything. The art is knowing which waves you can take up towards the mark. When you're going by the lee in this nice steady state, a lot of easing the vane, so there's a fair amount of twist in the top. The top's quite open. It does a couple of things for you. It presents a nicer shape to the wind. It also helps depress the bow a little bit more and lock the boat down. But once you've gone down and you're going to start, board. Okay, I'm going to go up the board. You want to pull the vane back on, just so the top batten's almost parallel to the boom. Maybe a little bit more open than that, whereas before the top batten would have been 10 degrees or 15, maybe even 15 degrees open when you're going by the lee, and when you're going up towards it, you finally found the mark, you're going up to the mark, close to parallel. Okay?
With easing it, of course, is death rolls, right? You don't get very much warning. If it eases the vane too much, and a puff will come through, and if you're not quick on the lane sheet, it's basically you're into the drink to windward.
The OK Digging has a little window that it does not like to sail, and that would be about 70 degrees to 170 degrees. Well, 175, something in there, dead downwind. It hates sailing that. It just gets the wobbles and it just starts jumping back and forth and you're jumping back and forth and you just know it's a matter of time till when you look up and you see the end of the boat, it's game over. So if there's any kind of breeze, actually in almost any condition, it doesn't like to sail. Either it wants to tip over or it's just slow. That's a little window that even in the conditions where you're just happily sailing downwind, the wind wants to go one way or the other on the mainsail. It doesn't want to just hit the flat surface. It doesn't actually want to flow one way or the other. So I really avoid sailing in that window unless I have to for an overlap, get to a mark or whatever. Yeah, okay, but just know that it's not the quickest little window.
How do you correct the death roll? I really struggle with that. Do you do sail? Do you do weight?
I'm gonna ask the man there.
About what?
When the boat just starts rocking and rolling and downwind and it's like,
Oh,
whoa.
yeah, you've got to heat it up a little bit.
Well, you got to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to be, you
don't
can't
wanna-
go straight.
Yeah.
So you either, I tend to go low, so go by the lee. And the other thing is a meter of main sheet. Really
Yeah, trim it.
stabilize the boat.
Yeah.
Get the
Meter
boat
main
calm, ease it out again.
Anytime you think, just pull an arm's length of main sheet in. Because the loss is, when I measure everything when I don't have good numbers in pink elephants, the loss is 1 pink elephant, tipping upside down is 25 pink elephants. You pick it.
What about your body position? Do you go to the center to try to manage weight better?
So you kind of got to be careful if you're stuck in that, particularly maybe if you're just coming into the mark, you have to sail that angle. Because if you move too much, you end up chasing your tail a little bit. You're much better off to pull some main sheet and stabilize. If you can move, you can steer. And as Muncie said, you either come up, stabilize the boat, or go down and stabilize the boat. And if you can, if it's definitely leaning, to windward and you can go to leeward, that's great. But when you've got the roll, when you go, oh, yeah, you kind of chase your tail. So arm full of main sheet and then up or down, stabilize the boat, and then go back into a fast mode.
There's one trick that seems really counterintuitive, but if you're sailing with quite a lot of heel and you feel like it's going to come over on top of you, and your rudder loads up, and your natural instinct is to push away with your rudder, and it just loads up even more. Get it towards you, unload the rudder, and just lean in towards the leeward of the boat, and just go a little bit down by the lee, and it just unloads everything, and you get a little bit of acceleration from that, and it unloads everything, and you can bring it back up flat again. But pushing against the rudder that's already loaded up is slow for starters, and it's not going to help with your death roll situation. So if you just gently kind of pull it towards you and go further by the lee, sometimes it actually helps.
This is great stuff to do when you're practicing or Thursday night. Try it. Go do something you wouldn't normally do. Make yourself think it up and see what happens. And obviously, when we're doing bigger fleets, it's one of the challenges in bigger fleets. Is there's nowhere to go. Boats either side of you, behind you, ahead of you. You can't sail the line you want to sail. So that's where we mostly here in club racing. There's room, not always, but mostly there's room to take the line that you need.
Okay. Jibing in a breeze. Okay. I can't say that I'm the expert on it, but we'll open the conversation up and get. Basically, what I do when I'm jibing in a breeze is this is we're going to run to run and we'll talk about wing marks. Again, either case, speed is your friend. Speed is your friend. The best time to jibe is when you're actually on a wave, because the whole apparent wind is way down, you're going faster, the whole thing will be a much more pleasant and
Seamless.
possibly drier experience. If you're not on a wave, it's full force stuff. I normally take probably 2 pulls of main sheet in before the jibe, just because if it filled all the way back out again, the possibility of going straight into a death roll is pretty high. So I'm hedging my bets on that. The Vang, I'll ease it because my downwind mark is actually too tight for guaranteeing that it's going to clear my head. And I grab the single part of the main sheet and throw it all over in one shot. One thing that I do, and it's a debate, is I don't sail with JC strap on in over 17 knots. Because I have had it where I've gone to throw the main sheet over, and the JC strap was just enough to pull it back. And your body is committed to the jibe, but the boom said, no, I'm going back out. And it's almost guaranteed again.
Also got the Dutch champ at Vandal told me that it's a good thing to take it off because if you capsize it, it's the boat right upside down. The JC strap tends to on the boom. Yeah. Yeah, I don't need it. That's there.
So when in 15 knots you don't need it. The boom's going to go out. You don't need it. So 17, 18 knots, I tend to sail without it on. So the boom doesn't. The secret to jibing is being quick in the boom. Right? Don't lollygag through the middle of the boat. The other thing, if it's really windy, I do plan my escape. All hell breaks loose, right, in this jibe, and I just turn it and go head to wind. And I'll be able to bear back off and stuff. I know my escape is that way. Getting back where I came from. Okay, so 2 big pulls on the main sheet. Make sure the bang is at your setting that you know you're going to get underneath it. And the whole main sheet in one shot on the wave. It's a good thing to go practice because once you kind of get decent at it, you kind of think, that's pretty cool. I can jive in 18 to 20 knots a breeze. I can actually do that. So that is jiving in a breeze. Unless somebody's got something.
Be careful of hitting too much, man. You've got to get under the boom. It's got to be
Yeah,
safe.
you got your mark that you know you'll get under the
When
boom.
I used to go to this in the paint when I first got into the class. It's like, so give me, I got a jibe. Do a jibe, I've got to take the bang off. How do I take the bang off? Not swim before or after I jibe. You know? And the transfer is what kills you. So yeah.
Make sure when you're sitting up, you're not kind of sailing in that, the death zone angle. Make sure you're at your VMG angle. Set up for the jibe and then steer the boat through the jibe.
Like each does a little bit first.
Oh yeah.
If it's just like, how do I get through this judge? So come up a bit, and then you know you're fast on the wave.
Whereas
and
if
you
you're
know it's
going
like
slow
an easy
in that
ordering
death zone angle,
reach jibe. You're not
not good.
trying to
The
run.
other thing, interestingly, you watch Benno jibe. I think Benno is probably one of the best heavy US sailors we've got. He gets on his feet really quickly. He stands up straight out of the jibe. Even going into it, I've seen him just do that, which is impressive and dangerous. But that's, being on your feet is quite hard to do, but it's you can react super quickly on your feet. But on your bum, that can be challenging to get into the right place.
Squat down in the cockpit.
Take 2 handfuls of rain with your left.
Yep.
You wedge
And then you grab it
Then I
with your
put-
right.
Then I put the main sheet